Okay?
Yep.
And what we'll do, like you see, the beginning is good. A lot of this is a little bit repetitive as we go through it. Okay, anyways. So Ani, Ach B'ni, my son, once again, he's not writing to his son, he's talking about to the reader himself. Ach B'ni, חוץ ממה שכתבתי למעלה להניח דעתך בתמיהתך גדולה. Besides what I wrote to you above about which your major question was, which is how that it can be how is it possible the Almighty can have the actual redemption come about by those who break his rule, his will, in other words, the people who don't keep the commandments and are, so to speak, not committed Jews, and people who don't even have any moisture of Judaism. In other words, they're not just religious, they are almost like anti-religious or secular completely. I have an answer that I'm going to, God gave me the answer to try to figure this out. The Pasuk says in Habakkuk that if the Messiah comes late, I will wait for the Messiah. Even though he tarries, I will await the big coming of Mashiach. And this is what the Gemara says in Masechet Sanhedrin. Shema Tomar an mechakim v'hoina mechakim. Maybe you'll say that we're waiting, but God is not waiting. So Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, L'chein yechakeh Hashem l'chananchem, l'chein yerum l'rachemchem. In other words, that our Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to wait, that He can be gracious to you, and therefore He will be exalted, that you may have mercy, that He may have mercy upon you. Which means Rashi says, Yechakeh Hashem hu atzmo mechakem et aveh she'yavo Mashiach. God is waiting as well for Mashiach to come. That's a very strange thing. What do you mean God is waiting? So if we're waiting and God is waiting, me cave, who is holding back the fact that Mashiach will come? I know I'm waiting, but God waits. So God is the one who can change things around. So how is this possible? So the answer is midat adin makeves. The attribute of justice is holding things back. In other words, God who wants to be merciful, but the attribute of justice kaviyachol is like an opposing force and says that maybe we don't deserve it. This is what the Talmud says. We're both waiting, we and God. The midat, the attribute of justice, is standing and holding it back. This is what the books of the Kabbalah say. That now, when God wants to do something great in the heavens above or down here as well, the Almighty Himself needs to wrap things in certain ways to almost disguise it. Even ways that look like they're not pretty, and they may even be ugly. In other words, they look like it's not the proper thing to do, which means in order that the attributes of justice, the opposing elements, those who really are very strict about when we should get reward and when we shouldn't get reward, shouldn't be able to catch that He's getting around them, so to speak. It's very difficult to understand.
The accusers?
The accusers.
Who are the accusers?
The accusers are Satan, and the attribute of justice, which really means strict justice. You're not 100% perfect, you don't get it. In other words, like, how can I describe this? If you ever marked a test of a student, which you may not have had, well, the big difference between a strict marker and an easy marker is what do you do when the kid gets partial credit? If the kid writes half an answer, if the kid writes the full answer, he deserves the credit. If he writes nothing, he gets 0. What if the kid writes half an answer right and half an answer wrong? Do you give
a mark?
True. A harsh teacher will give the child no mark because you didn't answer it. Oh, you wrote something there? Yeah, you just scrambled it out of your brain.
Like Satan and the other angels, Moshe, have they ever swayed Hashem in Hashem's decision? Do we have?
It looks like Hashem seems to be almost concerned about this.
Because Moshe sways the angels to get the Torah, but do we have it from the angels' perspective?
Not clear, but it looks like in this case they seem to have some kind of say.
Don't you say "En od milevado"?
Right. This is why I said why it's a very strange piece here, because it looks like HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be worried about other people. I'm worried about the Almighty. I'm worried about the angels. I'm worried about the Satan. I expect that God, who I rely upon, I put everything in your lap, God. Right? You're the one who's going to save me. You can take care of me. So this almost seems to say that there are different powers which even the Almighty seems to not being able to deal or handle properly. I'm not sure I understand it more than that.
No, it's not that you can't
It
handle.
could be that, Moshe. That's not a possibility.
I agree.
I
That's why
agree.
I'm having difficulty with it. I told you when I said this, it was a difficult piece. But in other words, what he's trying to suggest, based upon this Gemara, and he's quoting this Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin, which seems to say that why is God waiting? Why we know why we're waiting, because we can't do anything. Why is God waiting? God's waiting because we don't really deserve it. So but doesn't God make the rules? Can He change the rules? I guess He can change the rules of strict justice.
Yeah, but he's not ready to.
Okay. Let me present this from a different point of view. God sometimes acts as a person of chesed, right? Rachamim, and also God is sometimes also strict justice. Now the truth is, if we understood the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu completely, we would understand that chesed, the kindness, mercy, and justice go together. Right? We just see them separately because we don't understand this. And one time he looks like a judge who judges with mercy, and one time he throws the book at us. But if we really understood everything perfectly, the two would be the same thing. Right? The judge who throws the book is also the judge who's merciful at the same time. This is for your good. Right? It's like a parent says, I can't hit a child anymore. A parent who says, I'm going to punish you because you tried to run across the street. This is for your benefit, right? You can't eat the candy. This is for your benefit. Now we understand that simplistically, that's an example of justice, right? Strict justice. The kid wants the candy, but the kid will be sick, and it's really rachamim on the kid. But most of life is not that simple. But on the other hand, you look at God as having to balance these two things because we can't understand how they both go together. So it almost becomes like the strictness of justice becomes like a separate arm of the Almighty, and the Almighty trying to be merciful. And the two of them seem to be dueling it out between each other. It's like hands that are working different ways. Like when a pianist plays with the right hand and the left hand is doing the bass. And the hands are doing different things. It's the same person. How can they press different types of keys? Why aren't the keys being parallel? Because the different hands are getting different instructions. Kaviyachol, that's the same thing with God. So the strictness of the attribute of justice is, yes, it is Satan, but it's also within the Almighty Himself. When He wants to be merciful, He has to at the same time accept how He can go against His own strictness of justice. So it's not just God against bad angels; it's God against God, the same God. It's God against Himself.
God would weigh more towards mercy because everything God does is good.
Right, but He has to figure a way to get the mercy around the strictness of justice. That He can actually, so to speak, I don't want to say go around the back door, but to find a way to make it possible to justice can be passed over in order to do mercy. So the way to do it will be to disguise it in the way that justice can't really respond. This is not really good people who you would be out to get, but it's kind of people who you would not expect to be taking place. That's the best I can do with this. That's not fully satisfactory in my mind, but that's what it says. It's trying to explain this, how it's possible these people could be...
I would perfectly understand this if we were to relate to these other forces as metaphors, as a way for us to understand the two aspects of it. But we don't say that. We say that they actually have a mamash in existence. Angels and Satan.
So I'm saying it's not only angels versus God, it's God versus Himself. Midat Hadin does not only mean the Satan, means Midat Hadin of Hashem. The same way Hashem is Hashem, and the name of Hashem is the name of mercy, the name of Elokim is the name of Midat Hadin. So the two of them are seen sometimes as dueling. Now Kadosh Baruch Hu has to decide which one is going to overcome the other, because they're both the hands of God. It's not God against inferior forces, it's God against Himself. So somehow He's got to make sure that the Midat Hadin part of Himself stands, at the same time the Midat HaRachmim stands. He's got to figure a way to get around it.
You kind of have to hope that Hashem sometimes doesn't listen to the angels.
Right.
When it comes to the bad.
Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, this is a theory that He presents, or an idea that He presents, and He proves from a number of examples that you see in the history of Tanakh, or the history of Jewish history, or Jewish theology, that sometimes things work in ways that don't look to be the best way. In other words, sometimes things look like they're coming in the back door in order to bring redemption. And if you can accept that sometimes, and you've got to see the examples first, sometimes there are examples in Jewish history that things came about in ways that were not stellar, in ways that were not ivory pure, but God set it up in ways that looked to be almost denigrating or negative, and it has a positive outcome, and it's clearly God doing this, then it's possible to posit in this case too the people who are leading the way to the Gula are those people who are not the front runners to win the Torah Medal of Honor. And so let's do some of the examples, and you can see if it makes a little more sense. Okay. So first he says this is really from the Bali Kabbalah. He has to find a way to Eitufim, and we just did this, so we did that part. And this is really now he brings quotes from the Shach, or gives a commentary on the Torah in Parshat Vayeshev. Shamati says, I heard, writes the Shach, Mashem Harav Yaakov. I'm not sure this is Rav Yaakov Ariz. What did Rav Yaakov Ariz say? Shekibel merabotav lama hayachas v'asrara v'malchut Yisrael yal zaderach. Why is it that the leadership will be in such a way that it looks to be like improper, inappropriate, illegal, so to speak, or just illegitimate? Sharoa yer shechas shom yetzad mamzera. They look like that almost that the king, the leader of the Jewish people, will be coming about through a way of illegitimacy. Ayin sham shechashav kol shaltut shemashiach shehaya derech mechoaru pritzut. That the whole way that the Mashiach was coming about is through ways that really are not something that are ideal. In other words, Ayin Sham El Sha'atzah Kadosh Baruch Hu came K'dei Lavim El HaMashiach Pesach Hadad. The Kadosh Baruch Hu did this in order that no one will pay attention to the coming of Mashiach and no one will stop it. K'dei Shlei Katrei Kama Katrei, so that the accuser, once again we're going back to the angel now, so that the Satan is not going to stop HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'yasach HaKadosh Baruch Hu came K'dei Lasiach HaSatan Datov Yamar Svarav HaMashiach Lo Yivo El Mi'achas HaKdushav Lo Yival Derech Ein Sham. That no one is going to stop the Mashiach to come about. What he's really talking about is the lineage of Mashiach. How does the lineage of Mashiach come from? Moav, correct. But it also comes from Moav, but it also comes from Yehuda, who has relations with Tamar, correct? And Tamar and the children are born are called Peretz and Zerach. And Zerach is the lineage, Perach is the lineage, that goes all the way down till David HaMelech. So the whole beginning of Mashiach comes about in a way that's really not the most nicest way. Even and also David and Bathsheba. David and Bathsheba, which leads to Shlomo, to Shlomo. Then also you have Boaz who marries Ruth. Right? All of this looks like to be like these are not the most high level stories. These are the kind of things you'd expect to find in the National Enquirer or something like that, or these kind of scandalous rags. But this is how Mashiach. You see this is true, fascinating, right? When you think about it, right? So and he writes V'ayin gam kem b'sefer Kadosh Magid Mesham, the book of Magid Mesham, which is really a discussion of an angel that's speaking to Rav Yosef Cairo. The Malach Gilal Rabbeinu Beit Yosef Atam leIsrach David Malka Mashiach the Yaisu Mirut Moaviyah. The reason why the Mashiach and David HaMelech come from Ruth the Moabite, Mishum Daidei Kach Itlahu Tokvod Yad Kafdai Alahu Sitra. By having the Mashiach come from these negative forces, it's able to overcome the evil forces. Noam Elimelech writes the same thing, that the Chol Davar Shadam Motzeh L'Shmar Kocho Tzrich L'Shver B'Dugma Minei Mei. If you want to really break the strength of something, you have to break it from within. You need to know how to do it. Moshe Rabbeinu took the Jewish people out because he tasted freedom. If you want to overcome the evil forces in this world, you've got to be raised in the evil forces. You have to come about through the back door. And that's what the Medrash says. And that says the Medrash, the Chol Adam Shatzarch correct? And the Medrash says as well, the same thing. We read the Medrash. Pasuk Matzati David Abdi. I found David my servant. Hechem Etzal. Where did I find my servant David? Bestom. In Stom. Stom refers to Lot and his daughters. Why did Avram Why was Avram descended from Terach, who was a big idol worshipper, who in the Midrashim has the idol store of the city? He has the IKEA of idol stores. Many tzaddikim as well came from ancestors who were not so righteous. So Pershu Machmad Shamakatim Hachitzonim B'Rotama Nishamaha Yunav Gvoha Einam Manichim Lo Letzeit Olam. Because all the negative forces, once again we're dealing here with negative forces in this world, such as Satan, such as Yetzer Hara, will work to make sure that a real righteous soul will not be able to come out here because they know they can't defeat that. So they got to stop it, nip it in the bud. So V'Yosim Kol Tachulot Lagva, with all kinds of things to stop it. Samasa Kadosh Baruch Hu Notenotza B'Guf Tamei. God takes this holy soul and puts it into an impure body. V'Yaz Manichem Oto, they leave it. V'Aydeza Ba Neshama B'Olam, the neshama comes to the world in the guise of an idol worshipper, an evildoer. Ki Gam Heim B'Rotam She'Yaved L'Makom Tamei Sovrim Shvadayev Shashtalam Malok L'Shemachim L'Tzeit. The evil forces will see that this will take place here, and they don't expect something good is going to come out of this, and therefore they let it therefore take place. So whether we understand this from a really theological point of view, or just simply saying that this actually took place practically. If you study how the lineage of Mashiach takes place, this is what's going on here. Okay, and I'm going to skip now in the English to 189 and 128. 189. 188 is the footnote.
The evil forces in the realm of angels too?
Well, we're putting them in the force of spiritual, sometimes anti-spiritual beings.
So not but angels?
I guess it'd be an angel. I'm sure an angel is.
Here's the question, Moshe. Everything God does is good, and if the angels are all created by God and on God's team, shouldn't everything you do be for the good, even though it seems like it's evil?
Yes. Okay. Here's the question.
So where's the evil from? If everything is for the good, and the angels are only good for Hashem,
so if everything,
why evil?
Because if everything was good, you'd have no choice. If there was only good in the world, and there was no opposite of good, you would simply be a robot.
Yeah, but even the evil is good.
In other words, if the whole world was ice cream, you don't need ice cream. Or if the whole world was ice cream, it's going to be good for you. If the whole world was, what would say steak? Is that a good example? Steak and potatoes, meat and potatoes. You eat meat and potatoes. Really good, yes, okay. So if you could only do good in the world, if there was only good, there was no evil, what kind of choice would there be? So there have to be negative forces to give you a challenge. You've got to make a good decision or a bad decision. That's not the challenge is we don't know which is which. Right? But if whatever decision we make, if we make the wrong decision, we then can make a right decision to turn back. Or we can make another worse decision that's even worse.
Yeah, but if they're both good, whatever decision I make is good, no?
So then there's no choice. Then there's no choice. Then you have no challenge. In other words, the role of every human being. I'm not sure how this is going to end, but the role of every human being is to make the world a better place. And the challenge is, and if you don't live up to the challenge, you make the world a worse place. That's really our challenge. That's pre-Jewish people. Right? We're to take the world and make it better, but we can also make it worse, and sometimes we do make it worse. But that assumes that there is something that's called bad that's here. I can take the world, I can ruin the world. Every time I take, we can lecture about environment. I can take a piece of garbage and throw it around, or I can take a piece of garbage and put it where I'm going to dispose of it, or I can take a piece of garbage and put it I'll recycle it. Now those are different gradations of good and bad.
No, I understand, but they also say murder is bad, right?
Yes, it is.
But they have capital punishment,
yes,
which is
true.
good.
Correct, for people who do bad. Capital punishment is for people who do bad. Assuming we follow.
But the guy who's shooting the bullet or putting the poison into somebody's body, is it good or bad?
So the answer is there are times where it's good. But the question is, in our mind, we sometimes the mind plays tricks on it to tell us when it's good and when it's bad.
Sometimes it's good, like when Pinchas kills the couple.
Yes, that's considered good.
Yes.
But when the children of Yaakov go and kill the whole town, that's bad. Pinchas.
When they hanged the Nazis in the Nuremberg trials, that was good.
Not to the Nazis.
Not to the Nazis.
To the ones who won.
But the ones.
But that's the storyline.
But that's because they made evil decisions. So in other words, there is good, but everything is good, man. So there has to be some kind of evil here in the world that we have to understand that we can make the right choices. That's really the real answer for evil. Okay, now back here is 159 at the top. So it quotes now from the Maharal in Prague. V'chein at 128 at the top. V'chein ayin b'sefer b'gvot Hashem l'Rabbeinu Maharal in Prague. And I'm going to quote as Lashon. He says, and this really refers to going back to Israel. V'od yesh l'chol avin k'machut Yisrael ha'kedusha sheyesh lo madriga lokit pnimit. The kingdom of Israel, which has a very internal spiritual, level. It rises up from a kingdom that does not have sanctity. That everything has to have within a divine and a holy inherent internal part to it. And this is the pasuk that's taken from Yecheskel. I'm going to bring fire out from within you, which is the fire which comes out is compared to Kedusha. The Kedusha is compared to fire, I should say. Same way fire burns that which is not holy. It's going to burn a piece of wood, and yet the fire itself, we'll call its energy, but it's really also something that's beyond the physical. That the fruit itself, before it becomes ripe, is just really the rind. Just really the shell on the outside, until the fruit grows within the outside itself. And then as it gets more ripe, the actual shell becomes thinner, and the pre overtakes what the shell is. Doesn't mean the pre goes outside the shell, but it means the shell gets very thin that you can eat the fruit. Everything that has an internal holy spirit or holy level is built within around it has a non-holy thing. Therefore Moshe grew up in the house of Paro. Now we normally say we grew up in the house of Paro so you can taste freedom. But also was liyot yotzei madriga lokitche ela Moshe mitoch dvar chomri, because clearly the holiness of Moshe grew up in something which was very physical. I mean, it's ironic. It's the ultimate irony, without the Maharal, that Moshe, who's going to be the redeemer of the Jewish people, is raised in the house of Pharaoh, who is the antagonist to everything that's holy to the Jewish people. He's raised under his nose. That's the whole story.
Isn't that the same with Esau and Yitzchak? How ironic is that? Tzaddik of tzaddiks, look who the son was.
Correct, but more importantly, Moshe was not born in the palace, he's brought into the palace and raised under it. So in other words, but what he's saying here is a little different. He's saying the fact that Moshe was raised in the house of Tumah, of impurity, allowed Moshe to develop. Because without that, God would not make an internal holy level. The holiness is only apparent when it grows up surrounded by a shell that's not holy. I understand this because it's pretty deep, says the Maharal. It is pretty deep. This really takes place with a lot of things that they develop around something that is physical and not spiritual. The same thing as well. Mashiach Yoshev Medinat Edom. Same thing is going to be about the Mashiach who lives in Rome. Ad kan divar v'holokim. Hare kol divrei Rabbeinu Gdolei Olam Hanal Olim. I'm sorry.
So what does that mean? Mashiach sits in Rome.
So there's a discussion where I forget who asks where is Mashiach, and he's told to go to Rome and see there's a poor person who's undoing bandages and taking bandages on and off, and that's the Mashiach. And he goes, and sure enough, he finds the person. And he comes back and he says, yes. And he says, and he asks the guy, he says, when is Mashiach coming? And the guy says, today. And of course, he doesn't come today. So he goes back to the person who sent him, or I forget who it was, the Gemara. And the guy says, what happened? He didn't come today. He says, well, he would come today if you were worthy of his coming. He says, when you're waiting for today. Today will be the day when he comes. Why is he taking his bandages off and on? Because he wants to be ready to come. In other words, all the poor schleppers have their bandages on, or they take them off, and they take them off apparently to let them air out in the sun. He was taking them off, airing out a little bit, and wrapping them up, and then taking them off and wrapping them off. He was wrapping them up constantly to be ready when the call comes. If it would be the right day, he'd be ready to come. That's the Agadic story.
Well, it doesn't sound very Jewish, this whole thing.
It is very Jewish. It means Mashiach
and in Rome.
And in Rome. He's waiting in Rome. So what
we also know that Italia came.
It's a Jew. It doesn't mean he's a Roman. He's not a Roman soldier. Some Yidel. He's a Yidel Schlepper a Yidel. He's a poor ani sitting in Rome among all the other beggars.
Like the Rome is the quintessential evil, and then
Well,
Mashiach will come.
That's what the Maharal is saying. Why is this guy doing in Rome? Because Rome is the quintessential evil. This guy who happens to be in this Medrashic account, he has the ability, he's a potential Mashiach. He's lying in Rome. He's waiting in Rome. Why Rome? Why doesn't he wait in there someplace else? Because Rome is evil.
They say that no one will know who the Mashiach is.
Right.
He'll be an unknown.
Right. That's what this story is trying to say. He's an unknown. The only part is he said, when is Mashiach coming? The guy says, he says today. He doesn't come today. So what does he mean? He says, B'chol yom achakelo. B'chol yom, this will be the day that he comes. Could be today, but it wasn't the day. Every day could be the day.
Yeah, every day is today.
Right. So therefore, in other words, correct. So as a result, because of this, he's really saying that this is what's going to take place. That he's going to come from Mashiach. I just lost my place here. Ad kan devar v'lokim. This is really what he says. Al divrei Rabbeinu Gdol Yalam Olem Ekon Echad Shekol Devar Gdol Tzrich L'Tzei Midavar Chol, and it all comes together. Okay, and so this is what we see, and right, even though today's workers are very materialistic, so he says they're going to reach great heights.
That's very interesting, Moshe. This is in 1942.
Yes, it is.
How? But they were materialistic. Like this speaks to today.
Yes, it does.
But back
Right.
then,
Yep.
isn't that interesting?
Right.
Okay.
Now let's see, where does it really skip to? Because it doesn't match up Hebrew and English a little bit here. I don't know where it matches up in the Hebrew exactly. But he says in other words, he says you can't really alienate these people. It doesn't match up actually with the Hebrew for some reason. So then you have to, if they're going to reach great heights. You can't alienate them. You have to bring them closer because HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will that they specifically go with these people who are going to do this, and their essence and foundation will originates in the pinnacle of holiness, but they're going to actually be bringing on to that. So the essence of our future is going to come about through these people. So in other words, if you agree that great things can come from the mundane, then you can really understand exactly what's going on here. And I'm just going to skip that next paragraph. And going to move on to the top of 129 and the top of 190. 190, the new paragraph. So after saying that really these people are the people who are going to lead, v'hine, and therefore, had the people, the original building of the Eretz Yisrael been done by people who are religious, people who are very committed, then God, everybody would see that they're going to build a house for God, right? If the people who had been there to build and to populate the land had been people such as the Rebbe from Belz, and the Rebbe from Shinagova, and the Rebbe from Ger, and the Rebbe from Munkach, and all the other tzaddikim, Mashat Tzaddik Adar, would we be able to hide and escape the attribute of justice, whether it's Hashem's attribute of justice or all the other angels? The would want to stop and frustrate them. They would know what they want to do. And therefore, the midat hadin, the attribute of justice, would say it's not the time. We won't let them do it. We'll stop them in their tracks. But in order to allow this to take place, HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up that who's going to be the ones who are going to go in, not the people, the great tzaddikim, but people who are going to be not really going to fly under the radar.
So this goes back to my question about who's going to build it. And I asked you, is the Kohanim going to do that? You said the Kohanim are going to do that.
We're not up to building a Beis HaMikdash. That's building a Beis HaMikdash. First you got to get everybody to Israel.
What I'm saying is, regular people should be doing the work, not the Kohanim.
Well, regular people are building up the infrastructure of the country so that you'll be able to put up a Beis HaMikdash. That's what he means to say. The actual building of the Beit Mikdash will be done by Kohanim.
But why? What's the difference?
Okay. Well, I think you were asking about once it's built, who will do the work on it. So
once it's built. But I'm saying to build it, you say you can't go into the place. Only the Kohanim can go in there.
Yes, correct.
And
so they build the outside.
How are they going to do it? They don't know anything about. They don't know anything about construction.
We're going to teach them.
Who's going to teach them?
go to construction school, go to architect school. But that's like a much later stage. He's going to build the actual building. The real issue is just getting the people there into Israel to get to the first stage. Okay? So in other words, had it been all these tzaddikim, the midat hadin, the attribute of justice would have shut them down very quickly. And therefore, he writes, I'm just skip. Now I'm going to skip over this end of the page till the next page, till 191. This is therefore the great advisor, and it's on the next same page. I believe it's on the third paragraph on the page. V'abori kol olamim. V'chein atah, you see the paragraph chein atah, the third line. V'abori kol olamim. V'abori kol olamim she'otzeh b'met she'at chalta de gula. The great advisor wanted to really bring the beginning of the gula. V'atnai rishon legula levnot ha'artz k'mo she'kosav l'mal. The first piece of doing this is to, actually it's really, I gave you the wrong place in English, it's a couple lines above that, just start at the top of the page. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to build a gula, v'shiasu al kol panim hadchala bazet, to do at least the beginning, is top of page 191. V'achar kach k'shekvar nasad chala yem and donsetzet v'olechas. Once he gets the beginning going, it'll be able to keep going. Once you start it off and you get the so to speak, things rolling, you won't, and you'll be able to start it, v'shuv lo yem midat din yochol hakev aleinu. The attribute of justice will not be able to stop it at that point. It'll be too far gone to start it. As the Akedat Yitzchak writes, that when he says the Akedah, he's referring to the Sefer Akedah Yitzchak by Rav Yitzchak Lambranti, that everything will have, the beginning is the hardest part. Once you start it, you can't stop it. And so, therefore, from the great counsel, the deep counsel of the great advisor, therefore God chose one person to start off this Zionistic approach. Em HaBanim, this project itself, this project of going back to Israel, to acquire land in Israel and to build it up. As I quoted this earlier on, the day that I think Mr. Rubenstein was with us. This is the part where he's referring to Theodor Herzl, that the Almighty chose the most ignorant Jew to be the one who's going to lead the vanguard of buying land, because no one in the Midat Hadin would suspect that this guy is going to be moving along the will of the Almighty. And who was he? He was a person who didn't know his right from his left in terms of Judaism. And all his advisors were just as ignorant in terms of Jewish values. And when the Midat Hadin, the attribute of justice, and the Sitra Achra and the Satan saw this Kol HaTnuah Azot, they saw this whole movement from who it came, and who are the advisors and helpers, who are the builders. They were all secular people. They were not concerned about cutting it down, because they felt it was nothing for God. What can they do? What can they do in terms of God's Geulah? They're not the people. This is what the Midat Hadin, the attribute of justice, and the Sitra Achra and the evil forces really thought. They didn't stop them. This is what the Noam quoted earlier. It started and can't be stopped. It's growing and growing. Who did this? This is all part of God's initial deep plan, the plan that we can't fathom. Same way that the light of Mashiach came about through Boaz and Ruth, through Lot and his daughters, through Yehudah and Tamar, in ways that were like really bad, disgusting, right? The end of time, leading the footsteps of Mashiach. To build the plan this way, as I wrote earlier. It had to be this way. In order to steal through and get around the Sitra Achra, the Satan, to break the other forces, get through them, not be stopped. Therefore, the people were chosen, these type of people, specifically to be the ones who would be the ones who can be successful. And that's really why these people were actually chosen. Okay? This is how he writes it, okay? And now, just moving to 103. Right. Now he has to just excuse himself here. It's a very interesting excuse. V'da, he says, now, no, the chomash shekosavti al bnei haaretz b'neim osam, v'kiniti otam b'shem rishayim chas v'shalom. Everything I wrote until now, that I call these people who built up the land, and I referred to them as wicked people. I want to tell you something, I really didn't mean it. I really refer to them as wicked only because this is what the zealots, the people who are against them, call them. Page 193 at the top. And I wrote it even though it's not really true. Because they pushed away what they're doing, and they don't see them as the messengers of Hashem, but they really are Kiem Shluchim Rachmana V'Yisod Mahari Kodesh. They really are the messengers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I believe they are. I've written them, made it very clear. They're doing God's will. They're not considered. They're writing. They're not God's messengers. I don't believe this. I don't agree with them. They're not wicked people. These secular Jews who are building up the land, Heim Zera Emma, they are true descendants of the Jewish people. Zera Avram Yisrael Yaakov, descendants of Avram Yisrael Yaakov. Zera B'chonim, truly chosen people. Rak Heima Ketinok Shnishba Ben Akim, they're just people like they were kidnapped by Gentiles. They don't know the right from the wrong. V'chomosh Yaveiti Le'el, I said them, mitzvah le'hovot tam le'karveim. It's a mitzvah to make them closer and bring them closer to who they are. And he just quotes here, and he quotes from a very interesting piece from a Mendel of Rabbeinu when he talks about the four sons in the Haggadah, he doesn't want to call the second son the wicked son. What does he call him? Rakomar ben Hasheni. As I've written before, and this is a Musar Haskel for us, that we shouldn't go around calling people to call these people wicked. Well, not true. They're really beloved children to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God should help them, purify their hearts, bring them closer to His service, etc., etc., etc. By the way, Lubavitch Rebbe has a similar idea. Mendel of Ramlev said there were four sons, including the Chacham, the second son, the Tam, and the Shin of the Elishal. He doesn't call him Russia. That's what he just wrote here. The Lubavitch Rebbe had a different word. He said there's a fifth son. Right, the very famous word to the Lubavitch Rebbe, the fifth son that's not at the table. You got to write, you got Russia, Tzaddik, you got a Chacham, Russia, Tam, and Shin of the Elishal. Then you have a son that's not there. He's not wicked. He just doesn't know how to show up. He's so far away from Yiddishkeit. You got to be able to reach out to him.
This is when Mashiach arrives.
This is, he's saying, these people are serving a purpose to bring Mashiach to come.
Hashem will.
Sorry, just following on that point you were just saying, that also shows that the Russia is a good person, because he's there at least.
Right.
In other words, he hasn't moved so far away that he's not showing up.
Right. I think that's part of what Lubavitch writes. At least, the Russia, he's a bad guy, but he at least came.
But he refers to it also as the second son?
No, he doesn't. No, just not. Remember, actually, we changed the text in Haggadah, or when they would talk about it, maybe we'd change the text in Haggadah. When they would talk about the Divrei Torah, about this Russia, we wouldn't call him Russia, we call him Ben Hasheni. Tzveiten.
Hashem will shower upon them when?
Where am I looking
when
at?
Will Hashem shower upon them?
1 second, I flip pages here. Where am I looking at?
Every day.
Oh, yes, in the future, the end of time.
Yeah, because that means the free will's gone.
Well,
just like Pharaoh's heart was hardened, free will was gone. That means these people's free will they've got to be nullified.
Well, they will have to purify their free will, correct? To purify their hearts to think differently, correct? Or reset the free will at a different point. Remember, wherever we are, we have free will. If you're the biggest, the example, the Cossack, right? The Cossack always has free will. But eventually, even a Moshe Rabbeinu has free will. Even a big tzaddik has free will, except the big tzaddik's free will may not be the same kind of free will choices that I have. The big super tzaddik doesn't have a Yetzer Hara that keeps him in bed in the morning. But he may have a Yetzer Hara that says, you know what, I don't really want to do this intellectual piece of Talmud. It's too difficult for my brain. Let me do something simpler. Right? Let me just read some stories about the rabbis. That for that tzaddik is not using the best way of his time. So everybody has a different free will. So it just changes. With Pharaoh, you're right. Pharaoh is a more problematic kind of situation with taking away his free will, because it says that God hardens his heart. Here, all this is God purifying their spirit. They still have to make certain decisions. That's how I would read that.
So he's intervening in their ways.
Yeah. Okay.
When they talk about the four sons and they call the second son the Russia, who's saying? Who the father is saying the son is the Russia?
That's a good question. Who calls him the Rasha?
Yeah, who called him the Rasha? Would a father ever call his
So
son
the
a
answer,
Rasha?
they're the anonymous author of this piece of the Haggadah calls them a Rasha.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think because Jews, by nature, are very judgmental people.
So this is a very...
Are they?
you just proved it. Exactly. Because what father would call his own son a Rasha?
So what's of course interesting, if you look at the illustrated Haggadot, which has been a tradition going back to the Middle Ages, before printing and even afterwards, how they visualize the Rasha. No matter what age it is, it represents the issues, the time of the age. So if you look at the stuff that was printed in the beginning of the 20th century, the Chacham is dressed with a longer board, he's wearing a pot, and the Rosh is wearing a sports jacket, smoking a cigarette, right? But he's dressed like, probably dressed like this, okay? Today we would maybe say this is not a Rasha, correct? So, he's a warrior, or some kind of knight of armor. So now the real issue is, why is he a Rasha?
Why is he a Rasha?
So some of the Mefarshim explain that there are really two sets of sons at the table, and both the Chacham and the Rasha are vying for the other two sons. In other words, it's not that there are four equals around the table and they're playing a game of cards or reading the Haggadah.
Yeah.
But the Chacham and the Rasha are the two prime characters. Each of them wants to influence the Tam and the Sheni Le'el Eshal.
Right.
So the Rasha by himself is not such a bad guy, but the moment that he imposes his values, which are values of negativity and values of being a Rasha, upon others, then he becomes a danger to society.
But the whole Torah is filled with Rasha and Tam. Right? Every
Correct.
two brothers, there's always one good one and one bad one.
So part of the challenge is identifying what is Rasha and what is good. Well, who is good, who is not good. Correct. There are forces that play on you every day. There are people that you have, friends that you have, associates that you have, who can have a negative influence. There are effects of society that can have positive and negative. The whole world, once again, the whole world is really choices between good and bad, and people are good and people are bad. But you're right.
Even among the good, there are bad.
So the answer is, what's complicated today is very few people are just only good, and very few people are only evil.
So that's why I don't believe in this.
So that's why these are paradigms. They're paradigms of types of character traits.
Right.
You can't say that it's very hard to find there is a real Rasha, and a real Tzaddik, real Chacham. Every person's got a little bit of these four children within them.
Right. No. What I see is,
Yeah.
So
it's one person.
And
he's got all four elements within it.
Exactly. I know. I realize this. What I'm saying is that people will hire people to build, let's say, just like they're talking here, building Israel, but they won't have them sitting at their table for dinner, for Shabbat, let's say, because they're Rasha. but it's okay to build the Beit HaMikdash.
Well, so that's Rav Tafta would not agree with that. That's exactly the point. He says these people are playing a very vital role.
Exactly.
You should break down the bridges.
This is actually, this is so beautiful. Really deep, it's also very beautiful. I think in my mind, it kind of answers where he would be at if he had made it to Israel. Yeah. He would still be loving these people.
Yes, I agree.
Process, and it's actually it's very good for anyone to read it.
Yeah, and why
to the walls and you see what's going on and you say, you know what?
Well, but that's why the Sefer was picked up after 1967, after maybe 72, 73, was picked up by the Gush Emunim movement, which is both to resettle the West Bank, and also was a religious Zionist movement that reached out to people. It was not an isolationist movement like some of the Haredi groups, because they viewed a whole picture of Israel itself being composed of different individuals. So they viewed this Sefer as really speaking to what they believed in, and practically speaking, where they felt this is where Rav Tafta would have been 40, 50 years later.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to do some of your Dalit. We got about 10 minutes here. This is page 194. I'm moving to 194 and 131. Ordinary Riley Dvorein. I'm going to bring another proof to what I say here. Ordinary. I'm bringing another proof to this, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu really didn't use tzaddikim to build this. God held back not to do the building of Israel's tzaddikim. Take it mitchila from the beginning to stop this attribute of justice. I'm going to prove this to you from Medrash Shir Hashilim. Amar Shlakish mikudash habayit shelo Allah Israel b'yoto sha'ah. That it was good, or the temple was sanctified. It was a good thing that the temple was sanctified at the time when Ezra did not go up. Shilo Allah Ezra b'yoto sha'ah chayal l'satan l'kadreg v'lomar mutiv sheshamish Ezra b'kuna gedolim and shamish Yoshua b'tzud kohen gadol. That Ezra is actually not the first person to go up to lead the people back to Israel. There was a group before him, Yoshua ben Yotzadek Kohen Gadol. There was Rubavel who led them back, and Ezra comes later. Because Yoshua ben Yotzadek Kohen Gadol ben Kohen Gadol of Ezra Idesha Yadam Tzadik Lo Hay Roi LaShamesh B'Kuna Gadol Tzmosel. Because had Ezra gone by himself, then the Satan would have stopped. Would have said that it's preferable that Ezra would serve as the Kohen Gadol rather than Yoshua ben Yotzadek. Now Yoshua who's Yoshua ben Yotzadek? Amrav Shimon Kosher. Rabbi Simon Kosher Yashashad Yuchasin Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lehaker Mimkama Uperish Manos Guna Mekudash Habayis Kloma Ashrei Hamud Tova Kedusha Hitazot El Habayit Shlo Ezra. It's good that Ezra didn't go at the beginning. Lo Hay Roi Sheshamesh Ko Yeshua Kohen Gadol B'Yoto Shekmo Ezra. Kasha, who means She'af Al Pi Shei Ezra Yoter Roi L'Kol Gadol. Even though Ezra was more worthy of being the leader than Yoshua, Hayan Nesibam MeHashem Shlo Yaleh Ezra. The Hashem had Ezra come in the second level, the second group. Not to take away Yoshua. Why? Why is that going to be like that? So it's good for the house of the going back to start the work that Ezra didn't come. Would be better. Yoshua ben Yotzadek. Would have been better to have a greater person than Yoshua ben Yotzadek. V'yod yoter kashav mashamar medrashilo Yisrael yasatam mekadveg l'sumis avodah b'yad adam tzadik v'gadol Yoshua. So it's trying to say it's a little bit confusing to me, but I think what he's trying to say once again is Ezra was a greater leader, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu delayed Ezra from coming in order that Satan would not want to stop and slow down the work of Yoshua ben Yotzadek, who was the first Kohen to go, who was not as great as Ezra. Basically the same kind of thing. You see the whole approaches, and you summarize this next paragraph. I've only read that. Satan יכול לעשות איזה כתב מרירה ולעורר מחלוקת בבירור לבבות לגורם סילוק השכינה מישראל בית השם. The Satan would have stopped what's going on and not allowed to occur. מעמיר אנשים שאמרו לכונה לא שייך לעזרה כמו שצריך יותר ואין לו לכונה. God would have not allowed them to go through and so forth. Okay, let's skip this as well. And he tells us to skip this, and we're going to move over to where is the Tanat V'Eliyahu? I'm skipping over to Ted Vav. Okay, I'm skipping the rest of Yudalid. He takes it out in his short version. Okay, page 198. Okay. This is next sif. 198 and 133 in the middle. The Tanat V'Eliyahu, it says as follows. This is that talks about the importance of Eretz Yisrael being built, and it's more important than even Torah. But Tanat V'Eliyahu, it says as follows: L'shmor derech Eitz HaChaim. That God is going to watch the way of derech Eitz HaChaim. So there's a drush as follows. It says L'shmor derech, to watch the way. Zu derech Eretz. This is the way of the land. There, and then it says L'shmor derech Eitz HaChaim, the way of the tree of life. This tells us that the derech Eretz, the way of the world having respect and manners, is more important than Eitz HaChaim. The Eitz HaChaim el Torah, and Eitz HaChaim is only going to be the importance of the Torah, but derech Eretz comes before the Torah. So therefore, which comes first? L'shmor derech comes before Eretz Chaim. The pasuk is L'shmor derech Eretz HaChaim. So the drash is L'shmor derech Eretz, and then Eitz HaChaim, then Torah. So which comes first? Derech Eitz HaChaim. Good. The Katav Rav Agon Hatzadik, and therefore the Hanal B'Perusho, And so the tzaddik we mentioned before, Rabbi Yosef Schlesinger, he doesn't mention here in the Hebrew, he wrote on his commentary on this. This tells us that the way of the land is better, more important than Torah. What does this mean, derech eretz? Now, how do you translate derech eretz? Being a mensch, character traits, midot, right? Such as like Pirkei Avos talks about being a mensch. He's taking it literally. Actually, the Maharal calls his commentary on Pirkei Avos, Maharal probably calls it derech hayim. And he says the reason is because it comes to this pasuk derech eitz hachayim. So derech eretz comes before eitz hachayim Torah. So he's calling his commentary on Pirkei Avos, which talks about how to have derech eretz, derech hachayim. This is the real way of life. You need the way of life before you get to eitz hachayim, which is the tree of life, which is the laws of the Torah. So that's what the Maharal says, why he calls his parish derech hachayim. But also, he's taking this very literally, that derech means the way of the land, means the way of the land, which is land of Israel. Lafia Mavor Bo Yalkud, he's going to explain this as Rabbi Akiva Yosef Schlesinger explains it, in explaining the Yalkud. Kinig Vashu Mina Aretz, they were chased out of the land. Eretz means is Eretz Yisrael. If Shelamar the Kamashmal Nafukim in Dat Meraglim Hashem Asu Haaretz Yamut Torah Mukdam Eretz Yisrael. Why did the Meraglim not want to go into the land of Israel? So some of the Midrashim say they wanted to stay in the land in the wilderness. It was easier for them to study Torah. They had a great cocooned life, which was spiritual. Why go into the land after fight Canaanites? Al Kain Bikshu Shloli Kanes Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, we don't go into Israel, and therefore we were chased out of Israel. Kim Liot Neshaba Midbar Lil Mot Torah with Moshe. I wanted to stay in the wilderness to study from Torah with Moshe. Because the Torah was only given for those who ate the man. That's all we had to do is collect the man, eat man, and go and study Torah. This derech eretz is before Mukdam LaTorah, comes before the Torah. As it says, which is more important, Torah or Israel? The land of Israel. So the Meraglim sinned because they wanted to stay and study Torah in the wilderness, and they gave up going to Israel. That was a sin. He also wrote the same thing. The sin of the Meraglim who decided that they didn't go into Israel, that they sinned with, they were afraid from the greater sin of the transgressions which are more serious by living in Israel. They were afraid to go into Israel and sin, and sinning in Israel is worse. Living in Israel and doing the mitzvahs is better. Living in Israel and sinning is worse. They don't accept the Torah really, because it's greater obligation in Torah. They said, Nasa, we'll do and we'll keep. So you see that we shouldn't fear that we should go into Israel and sin. The Meraglim sin because they said if we go to Israel and we don't do things right, sinning in Israel is worse because the mitzvot are on a greater level. So we have greater opportunity, but also greater opportunity to fail. That was a sin. So you see that if you go to Israel and sin, and you're not concerned about sinning, that's a better choice than staying in the diaspora and not sinning.
Stay in bed all day, no?
No, so go to Israel. God will help you assist this. So in other words, it is better to go to Israel than to stay in Chutz La'aretz and not to go into Israel.
In a way, you could probably explain why it was the original people that came down.
Come here.
And that's why they
Louder.
Speak
okay,
up.
there was the original, like the Chalotzim weren't worried about sinning, so they that's why they were able to go to Israel.
Right.
I've heard that rationale from some people saying that I don't dare sin in Eretz Israel, so I may not want to make out.
Which is what he's saying is wrong.
Which is wrong, right? Exactly. It's a rationalization.
Right. So this is all part of an isolationist approach from going to Israel, which is wrong. Okay, then we'll stop here. We're almost at the end of chapter 2. I finally got the Sefer, the short version of Em HaBanim Chap. I have it with me actually, but I'll just show it to you. Okay. And here. This is the original version. Okay. This is the abridged version. Okay. So I'll tell you what I'm thinking of doing. I'll think more about it over the weekends. Because we're not doing Em HaBanim Chap tomorrow. But I'm thinking maybe for part 3 and part 4 just to use the English. Will you be okay with that? I think we can
use the English.
Just use the English because I think we'll go quicker.
Yes.
I think we'll go quicker and the other part's going to be hard for me to kind of put the two together because I don't have an abridged version in Hebrew. So I'm considering that when we finish 2, I'm going to change my language of reading to read the English itself and just work with this book and copy these pages. And I think that way we'll have a good idea that we can finish up, we can do the actual book itself, because it's really about 100 or so pages to do parts 3 and part 4, which is, as you see, until now we're up to 200 pages on doing the first 2 pieces. So this will allow us to do it and be able to say we've actually done the book. But it does mean that I know there's one person here who follows it b'ivrit. I'll be happy to do it in English. Okay, good. Okay, so
is the font smaller also, or just fewer words?
No, the font is about the same. The font is about the same size. Font is the same size. It's I don't remember if he took out 40% or he kept 40%. Okay, but he put it.
It's about half.
So he put up on the website. He doesn't have the book, but he put up on the website all the things he took out. So, for example, this is the parts he took out from chapter 2. These pages are all the pieces he took out from the original. Mm-hmm. So I can give you all the pieces that he took out if you want to follow it and read on your own. Okay? Does that make sense? That's what I'm thinking now at this point. That'll make it easier for us to go through. As a Hebrew purist, I'm still kind of having trouble with that decision, but I think that may be what I finally do.
Well, let's try.
We'll try and we'll see what happens.
Is it still on?
So this is now talks about the beginning of the redemption. You see, we're actually fairly close to the end itself. Okay. So this is talking about the beginning of the Geula, the beginning of the redemption. You'll see he's going to give a whole bunch of examples we're actually going to go through.
English one, if you want. Did you want an English one?
I'm sorry? Can you buy? You should be able to buy in Eretz as well. Yes. Yeah. The English one. You need the English copy? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's called Em HaBanim Chap. Definitely available. I just can't find it in the city. I don't know why. I spoke to Miriam's. They keep telling me they're trying to order it.
Coming Tuesday.
Yeah. I have it here. He wants to buy a copy.
So you want to buy a copy?
So go online. You probably can get it shipped in, or you're going to Eretz well in a few days. So you got it.
Yeah, the publisher's information.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll share with you the publisher information at the end of the class, and you'll see. I'm sure you can find it in Israel. I'm sure you'll find it in 20 million places in Israel. Okay, at any rate, let's go back to the Ted Zion here. So writes Rav Teichtel. Achar shebivarti l'cham midivrei Chazal mikama kamot shegolotenu atidal yavol kama kimavlo pamachat. After I explained to you that the redemption is going to happen slowly, not at one time. V'gam b'nisim l'vushim tevalam. It's also going to be not with great miracles, but disguised in the way of the world. V'lo b'neis ligdam ufursam rak midrash b'shtalshtut v'orim tivim. It's only going to happen through natural ways of nature. Yuvan Milanu Ma'Jemuvar B'Yushalmi will explains what Yerushalmi says as follows. Amarav Avcha Zot Omer Shebeit HaMikdash Atid Libanot Kol Malchut Beit David. It says the Beit Mikdash is going to be built before Malchut Beit David, and the Pnei Moshe there says Tekatav Datavot Yisrael Eno Moim El Madriga, that the good things that will happen by steps, by levels. The Betchila Yivuneh Beit Mikdash V'Achar Kach Yitzmach V'Yaleh Malchut Beit David. First there'll be a Beit Mikdash will be built, then they'll have the dynasty of David will be restored, and then it'll happen speedily in our times. And the Tosfot Yontav brings this Yerushalmi as well. And what does it say? And he quotes that there was a condition that they decided not to bring. They didn't want to bring the fruits of Kerem Ravai into Yerushalayim when it was destroyed, when it was in the hands of the enemies. And even if the Beit Mikdash is rebuilt, They will still not bring in the Bikurim to Yerushalayim to beautify the markets Yerushalayim, because this was a Tanai that was made. They can't undo the decision that was made. They can't really change that kind of decree, because what will be because the Beit Mikdash will be before the establishment of the Davidic dynasty. The Beit Mikdash will be built before the establishment of Beit David. So in other words, they made a decree that they would adorn the marketplace of Yerushalayim with the fruits of Kerem Ravai that people brought to the city to eat, which they had to eat in Yerushalayim. But once Yerushalayim was destroyed, they said not to bring it to Yerushalayim, to put in the marketplace, because the enemy controlled the marketplace. This is true even if we start to build the Beis HaMikdash before Malchut Beit David. We have some kind of rulership, but not complete, because that decree will still be in existence. You see from this is what he's trying to say, that the Beis HaMikdash will be built before Sha'ad Malchut Beit David Yad Loivim Ksat Memshel Aleinu, that we'll have a Beit Mikdash still before we'll have a Davidic dynasty in control of Eretz Yisrael, still will be not control of Eretz Yisrael. So V'chamosh B'tchila Beit Sheni V'shlot Oivenu V'yu Yerushalayim Lo Nitpatel Tam L'Gamrei. The same way at the beginning of the second temple, we did not have full control over Yerushalayim. We still had enemies. If you read the beginning of the story when Ezra comes back, the enemies were poking fun at them. The enemies were breaking the wall. They did not control. They built the temple, but they were fighting to defend the temple because they really not had a full political control. So you see that you have a situation where the temple was allowed to be built, but they didn't have full political control over Eretz Yisrael. And that's what the Yerushalmi is trying to say. And that's the same thing he's trying to say will happen in our day. We'll have some rights to rebuild Yerushalayim, but we won't have full control over it. So don't think you have to wait to get complete control before you have to work towards building the Beit Mikdash. Slowly things will happen independent of each other.
So even if the British are in charge, it's okay.
Right. So even if the British are in charge, you can still build up Eretz Yisrael. So and also he says, the Ramban says the same thing. And this is what he says. The beginning of the second temple, beginning of future redemption will be through permission from the governments. There'll be some gathering of the exile. And then God will give his hand again more, and more will come. As it says in Dvarim, and your returnees will return, your captives will return. They'll be coming back again. First it says your captives will return, and then it says in the same psukim, pasuk or two later, God will return and gather you from all nations. First one group will come, and then more will come. And the Radak says the same thing. It says that to God has the power completely, and He will bring it back through the hands of people. Like God had Cyrus bring back the Jews to the second temple. And the same thing writes the Radak in Tehillim 146 will be in the future redemption through the nations will allow us to come back. And he gives now a whole bunch of examples to support this again and again and again. And therefore, we're going to skip ahead now to page 202. And I'm going to skip in the Hebrew to where it says the Ramban, the bottom of, let's see, where's the Ramban go? Let me see now. One second. Oh, bottom of page 135 in the Hebrew. V'atan the drosh smuchim. Okay. V'atan the drosh smuchim. Okay. And now we're going to talk about things that are put together. Sukkim. The Kavan da Naviyah Hismich Nevuazul Nevuat Koresh. Because all these examples, by the way, are really just saying the same thing. The fact that the Navi put this Nevuah next to the Nevuah of Koresh, that the Nevuah was to the wheel come back, the same way that Koresh took us back, as it says, Ha'omer Koresh ro'ai, ro'i, v'chol chavtzi yashlim v'leimor l'yushleim tivneh v'echalti v'seid, kol ma Hashem l'mshich al Koresh asher chzakti b'mino, the same way that he put both things together. That the Koresh is going to bring us back, and so we're going to bring back together in our days. Mashma degam nevuot Yeshayahu gulatenu yeh b'ofen zeh. So the same thing will be the same way that the gula of Yeshayahu, which is about the future redemption, will be the same thing. The tchila yibanei Yerushalayim b'dei rishon malchiyot. Yasvu reshut l'shuv l'yisrael of notah. We'll go be able to rebuild the land. We'll get permission from the governments, like they had in the days of Rav Teichel, where Britain was giving them permission to go back and rebuild the land. Beit Mikdash will build the temple, and then we'll get a final, complete and total and true redemption. Like the rabbi said to us in Brachot, that there should have been actually in those days a proper redemption. Only the sin denied it. However, avol mishivazu shall. But through this redemption, we're surely going to get full gula itself. However, at the beginning it'll be like the days of Koresh, and that's why the Navi put them together. And Rashi says, look in Rashi Ezra, this is once again, we're on the 202 with the indented column in the English, the top of 136. Ayin Rashi Ezra, la pasuk, Koma Koresh Melech Paras, Koma Amlachot Art Nasan Hashem Elokei Al Shemayim, V'hu Bakar Le'levnot Li'bayit B'Yishmayim. This is the beginning of where Cyrus talks about allowing the Jewish people to go back. And Rashi says, Tziva Alai Al Yidei Yeshayahu Navi. Koresh says, I was commanded to do so through the prophecy of Isaiah, that the Yeshayahu is talking about Koresh as well, and this is talking about this rebuilding as well. So both rebuildings will be through the hands of non-Jewish rulers. The same way Koresh rebuilt the second temple, so too will be in the days of the future. And this talks about the second temple. So why does Yeshayahu put both things together? One part of Yeshayahu is talking about Koresh. The second part of Yeshayahu's prophecy is talking about the future redemption we haven't gotten to. Why are they together? The future redemption of the temple, the future rebuilding will be like Koresh, that only will get permission from a non-Jewish king to build it, and Yasam Alachav Yishlim, then God's angels will complete it and finish it. That talks about the messengers that God has given to it, and so forth and so on. And he says, I saw the same thing in the book of Amunah V'Deot, Rabbeinu Sadja Gaon, the Tchila Yenivne B'Shut Malchei Edom. First, in the future, will be built by the kings of Edom. Edom is the Galut we're under. Zeyachana Beit Mikdash Shamal Amiti. This will be the foundation for the future built Beit Mikdash that will come down from on high and the true. וגם אברנל בפסוק בוני ירושלים השם כתב שיוכל להיות כגולות אשר יעלה ברצון המלאכים אשר יחסר את הקדושה לישראל, that the future redemption will be through the kings which will allow the Jewish people to go to Israel. ומי שיחפוץ לעלות יעלה, and those who want to go will go. And Kamosha Tieb Galut Bavel, the same way with Galut Bavel, who went? Those who wanted to go. And only later did more Jews go after the temple was rebuilt. So first, the first group that went with Yerubavel, and later with Israel were a small group. Only later did more Jews come. The same thing will be in the future. Small groups will go and rebuild Eretz Yisrael, and later more groups will come. And so writes the Malbim in the book of Micha, V'kitzer dvav sha'galut yatchil likabetz v'yelhem ksat memshla v'nagal. The same idea. They'll have some kind of autonomy, some kind of leadership. V'akach yelhem machut kavod she'machut Beit David. Only later will machut Beit David come, and v'achakach imloch melech Mashiach b'mamlacha kvuah. Only later on will come Mashiach, who will rule, and it'll be all the things that will be in the later prophecies, etc., etc., etc. So in other words, all of this is saying it's going to happen slowly, little bits at a time. But it's not going to happen all together. So this is what we're seeing in our day, says Rav Tzeichel, that we have the ability to do this and to go back on our own to Yerushalayim. Okay, skip now to Yud Zayin. This is page 204 in the English, and Yud Zayin at the bottom of the page. Right? Okay. Yep.
Where is Purim in this? Between Babel and
Purim in the eyes of Chazal are right at the end of Galut Bavel. It's either right at the end of Galut Bavel or at the beginning of Malchut Paras. I guess they're still there. Before it's either you'll see in the Aggadah you're about to do, it's a little confusing. Right? You'll see because Achashverosh comes after Koresh. Right. So, but it seems that the Jews are still there. So it seems like they're there, but they took over, but they haven't really gone back yet. So it's somewhere towards the very end of the story of the 70 years before the Jewish people have gone. And in fact, in the story of Achashverosh, you'll see this Aggadah probably when I'm gone, is they take out the Kelim Mikelim Shonim. That Achashverosh takes out utensils that belong to the Beis HaMikdash that they still had, that they hadn't returned yet.
So it must be before Koresh.
So it looks like it's before Koresh, but Achashverosh is really after Koresh. Something it's very confusing. That's why, and if
Achashverosh is after Koresh, then here there is a good thing that they started to come back, right?
Yes.
Then something terrible will almost happen.
Correct. Right. You will see, and if you look if you go into the book of Ezra, if you read the book of Ezra, I think it's Perek Daled, the end of the Ezra Perek Daled, in talking about all the difficulties that they have trying to get things going, there's one pasuk that says Uve Malchut Achashverosh B'tchilat Malchuto Katfu Sitna al Yoshvei Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. At the beginning of the rule of Achashverosh, at the beginning of his rule, they wrote a sitna. Sitna is a calumny against the Jewish people of Judah and Jerusalem. That's, I'm sorry? It doesn't tell us who. It doesn't say who. It doesn't say what. But that's the one place where Achashverosh is mentioned in Sefer Ezra. This is after Koresh. It says there's a one verse where there's a very cryptic reference to Megillat Esther that the kingdom of Achashverosh at the beginning of his rule, which is what the Megillat Esther is about, the third year of his rule, they wrote Katvu Sitna. They wrote a Sitna. Sitna is like like from Satan, an anti-Semitic news item against the Jews living in Judah and Yehuda and Yerushalayim. And then it goes on talking about all the other troubles they have. So it doesn't really clarify what it is, but it looks pretty clear that that's a reference to what the Megillat Esther is talking about, which puts us to right at the beginning of their coming back.
And that's written from Achashverosh?
And that's written at the end in the book of Ezra after Koresh during the days of Achashverosh. So I said it's kind of confusing where this fits in. If you read the Aggadah that you're about to learn, it looks like it's the end of the 70-year period. If you read the book of Ezra, it looks like the beginning of Koresh's period. So there's a difference about 5-10 years probably. Right? Okay. At any rate, all of this is about what's going to show that we are able to go back to Israel slowly, and things will take place in a slow period of time.
There's no reason to think that what we're going through right now is inconsistent with the same. It's very slow.
Correct. Right, exactly. And the fact that we don't see unity of the people, we don't see Mashiach, you don't see da-da-da-da-da, right? It's still Atchalta de Gula, it's still an opening. You know, a lot of introductions are very long. Right? Did you ever read, Charles Dickens? There was the best of days, the worst of days. Right? I forget how it goes. Charles Dickens, by the way, was paid to write by the word. We know this. He was paid by this. So he wrote his long introduction. Bottom line is, sometimes the introduction, sometimes the first chapter is very long. So we have not yet gotten to see Mashiach, but it doesn't mean we're not on the road. And it's a natural process. We're surely much further than where they were when they were under British rule. It's clearly. Okay, we're not yet there, but we're look what's going on in Israel today. It's amazing. Right? And Harold and I will bring you back first-hand reports when we come back. Okay, I'm going to move to Yud Zayin. This is, once again, I told you, bottom of 136 in the Hebrew, top of 204 in the English. Right. Kodav Rambam Migar Teman. Okay, Kodav Rambam Migar Teman. Remember, Migar Teman is this letter the Rambam writes to the Jews in Yemen who were under persecution and were subjected to all kinds of terrible decrees, and there were false messiahs who rose up against them as well. So he writes, V'zel Lashon Masha Zacharta Midivrei Kitzim. What you mentioned to me, what you must realize about what referred to the end of days, Tchilat Mashiesh Choladat. What you must know, Shaketz Al Derech Hamet Lo Yitachem L'Shum Adam Ladat Olam. You're never going to really know what the end of the days is going to be about. Moshe Yeres, Daniel, like Daniel said, and he writes, and in chapter 12 it says it again, but here it says clearly, Kistumim V'Chatumim Advar Ma'Eit Kates. That Daniel, which is the book of the Bible that seems to refer to the end of time, is so cryptic, no one understands it, and Daniel himself says it's going to remain closed up and a sealed book until the end of time. And Daniel wrote a lot, and we can learn a Kal V'chomer. What's the Kal V'chomer? Ma Kates, you know what a Kal V'chomer is? Yes, okay. Ma Kates Mitzrayim Shino Dazman or 400 Shana. As we knew how long the exile in Egypt was, 400 years. Kakadu Bakravit Ba'er. So we knew the Torah tells us it was going to be 400 years and explained it. But still, Lo Yadahu Ad Shoyah. We didn't know the exile, we didn't know the redemption was going to happen until it occurred. Because only after they got out did they understand that 400 years go back to the birth of Isaac. Because how many years were they actually in Egypt? Only 210. But Kolshkein, so if we didn't know that when we were actually getting out of Egypt, when we got out of Egypt, it happened so quickly. The middle of the night, Pharaoh says, get out of here. Plague of the firstborn. It's the night of Pesach. They left the next morning, and they left in daylight the next morning. But they left 12 hours later. The future, this long exile that we're in, this long final redemption. That the Nevi'im, the prophets, were afraid of because of its length. That Shamar Navi Ader Chatema, until the prophet said by the way of a questioning, Halom Tanaf Beno Timshoch Abchal Davadar. How will forever you be angry with us? Will your anger be against us forever and ever? V'yom Yeshayahu, and Yeshayahu said, Kishisiper Richat HaGalud, Yeshayahu writes in chapter 24, V'yosvu Asefa Asir Al Bor V'Sogral Miskar Mirov Yamim Yipkadu. They will be gathered together as captives are gathered in a pit, and they'll be imprisoned in the prison, and after many days, Yipakedu, they will be remembered. We don't know how long the days are. And Daniel tries to explain some of the difficulty, the deepness in understanding the end and how closed up it is. As Daniel says, he says it's satum v'chatum advarim. Lafikach manonei chachmim milachshav akitzim leviat Mashiach. And as a result, many scholars prayed or held back to try to figure this out, because many fell into it. Because many will try to prophesize, and they saw that the prophecies didn't come true. And rabbis say in Masechet Sanhedrin that the bones of those who try to figure out the end, the exact end, come up with a year, their bones should rot. Because people, they become a stumbling block. Because if I tell you that the Mashiach is coming tomorrow, and he doesn't come, what will happen? You'll lose faith. If I say he's going to come in 20 years, you'll come back in 20 years and says, what happened? So we can never put a real date on it. For the rabbi said, those who try to come up with calculations, their bones should rot. And the truth was, anytime there was a real serious destruction, people did come up with calculations. Right? Rav Teichel is not the first to say that we're getting close. But Rav Teichel looks like we're getting closer, actually. Venerally, it says, however, it seems to me, The same way the end is closed up and hidden. There's no vision. Not only is the date hidden, the way it's going to happen is just as obscured. How it's going to develop is not clear. Same way the Ran writes in his drashot, and this is what he says: we saw in the same way as in Egypt, as the end was coming, that at the same time they were approaching the Gula and they were about to be redeemed, they saw circumstances that were going to be leading to their redemption. Nonetheless, they were unable to comprehend what was going on until HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed it to them. So even though there was some process, until it actually happened, until Pharaoh said get out, they couldn't really accept it. Even they got to the sea, they couldn't accept it. So too we as well, even though we're more ignorant about the future redemption. The Rambam writes in the Hilchot Melachim, we're never going to know how the things will be until they'll be. We have no way of knowing this. But, you want to know, why is it that sinners are leading the march? Why is it all these secularists are the ones who are developing Eretz Yisrael and the religious are not? We don't understand. We can't figure it out. Rambam writes as well in Iger Timan. This is once again the same Iger Timan. Will not know when it comes before it happens. We shouldn't push off anything that we can say is the flowering of the gulash. Maybe it's really the way it should occur. The rabbis, that the scholars said it should occur this way. It should happen with the permission from the secular kingdoms. As I said, I've already told you, I think this is really going to be what it says in Prophet Isaiah. And from the Rabbeinu Yismach Moshe, I found in this Sfarim, I'm not sure what this is in the Hebrew. Oh, he's right here. It is here, yeah. When you will return, when I return your captives before your eyes, says Hashem, that he said, the Yismach Moshe says, really the time and manner of the Gula is really made available to us. It'll be leinechem, in front of your eyes. Our eyes are closed. We don't know what it means. But after God returns our captives, only after we'll see in hindsight what God wanted. We'll see clear in our eyes that Hashem saw the time of the Gula, and the time of its existence. This is what the pasuk says that he quotes in Tzefanya. When you'll see in your eyes in front of you how I bring back the captives, you'll understand then only after it occurs. Only then when we understand the prophecy in Yeshayahu. He wanted to compare the future redemption to the redemption of Cyrus. So the same way we can't say this is, we can't say it isn't. We have to accept what's happening as a good possibility. This is what God wanted for us, to do this like this. Okay, so therefore, you don't know for sure, but it's really going to happen. Now, this is so far Rav Teichel against the world, right? Where Rav Teichel is coming from, what has he basically said? All the Hungarian Rabbanim, all the people have been against them. He's the lone voice in the wilderness to say they're wrong and he's right. So now he takes... You bubbled your eyebrows, but it's really true. It's really true. Okay, the Munkacher Rabbi was against them. The other Hungarian Rabbi were against them. The rabbinic leadership was against them. They said you got to wait for God's going to come down from on high and lead us. You can't do it yourself. And he says it's wrong. And they in fact, what did they say about the secular Zionists? They said the other way around. The reason of the Holocaust was because the secular Zionists took things into their hands. Against what the secular Zionists were doing, against the Zionist movement. Until now, he's been quiet. He's taken a couple of shots at the Munkacher Rebbe, but basically he has not had a lot to say. Now he has 2 points to say. One is he's going to bring a quote from Aaron Yeshayahu Fish, who was a great Av Beis Din. And then he's also going to quote from what he heard from the Vishnitzer Rebbe, the Admir Vishnitz, who was a lot more parv than all the others about what was taking place in the Zionist movement. Comment? Complaint?
Comment. I saw a Hasidic thing recently that said that the decree on Purim was not cancelled, it was just delayed. And, hold on, the Holocaust was the...
Very possible. Very, very possible. Right? This was the attitude. But remember, part of it was fueled by the mistaken feeling because the Hungarian Jews were only carted away late in the war. So the Hungarian Jews who viewed themselves as much more, right-wing or religious. They felt they were encouraged in their views because you see that God rewarded them that that the Polish Jews were taken away. German Jews were taken away, but we're saved. That all changed in 1943-44, right? In fact, the reason that there's a high percentage of Hungarians that were saved is because they were less years in the concentration camps, in many cases. They came only in the second half of the war, because the first half of the war, they basically had I would say a good life. They did not have a good life, but they were not treated the same way that the Polish Jews were and the German Jews were. So at any rate, there was surely difficulty all around in many different kinds of ways, but they felt encouraged in their views because of this. But anyway, he's going to quote here now in Yud Chet. This is a little bit of a different style. He's going to actually refer to an event that happened, which underscores and supports all that he said. So as opposed to Rav Teichel talking now, he's going to quote people that he heard from and about who are actually supporting everything he said. So it's good to know that there were allies even among the Haredi world who supported what he had to believe in. He wasn't only a lone voice. So, B'tchilat HaChoref Hazeh, he writes now in the beginning of this winter, this is Biyom Dalet, this is Yud Chet, bottom of 137 in the Hebrew, bottom of 205 in the English. The beginning of the winter in the fourth day of Parshat Vayeshev in Tavshin Gimel, this is 1942. This is probably December of 1942. Bimei Galoti, in the days of my exile, he is now in Hungary, because he really came from Slovakia. He thought, of course, he's in exile, never went back to his country. Actually did for a while. Hishlichu oti hasibot lekila kedosha what's this place? Busarian. I ended up being in Busamin, which was Makom Moshvei Mufnim. I had been there before. Ubikarti Sham as Kvot Talmidai, and I visited my student, Chavivi Me'az, Hamuflag, B'Torah, Gver Mufasam, Vatik V'Chasid, Moreno, Harab, Irish Rotman. Just give you the story now. And this guy was a rich guy, he was Yakar, Bikilato, he was Miochad, Shivadika, Chasidim, Shal Rav Gadol, Sar Torah, Bevetzia, Kadisha, he was the head of one of the leading Chasidim of this rabbi or Alam, Sar Beit Asor, Rucha Baba. Who was this? Moran Rav Avram Yeshaya Fish, Zechet Tzadik Kadosh Levacha, Av Beit Kila Kadosha, Hadis, Shem Migdoli Talmidim Shrabeinu Mekamerna, Shem Esmechotol Rebbe. This guy was a student, one of the great students of the Rebbe of Kamerna, this Avram Yeshaya Fish. He was an Av Beitin, he was a head of the court, living in the city of, which city was this again? Eunice, and he was, right, and he, correct, and so you've got two people mixed up here. You've got Rav Avram Rutman. He was a person who was close, Rav Avram Yeshaya Fish, who was a student of the Rebbe of Kamarna. Okay, just the important part of the story is going to be one heard from the other. And we don't need to go through all the genealogy here, so I'm just going to skip down to tell us about, this guy would go visit the Kamarna Rebbe every year and so forth. He would go back and forth. And this Rav Ivish, this Rav Ivish Rutman, who is this rich chassid who knew Rav Avram Yeshaya Fish, related to me. I'm going to skip to the next paragraph. So this Rav Avrish, Hanal, he heard a speech from the mouth of Rav Avram Fish. Binyan Tznuat Tzionit Shadra Or B'Yamam Min HaChodesh Min HaChadash L'Lech Levnot D'Eretz Yisrael. So Rav Avrish Ratman, who met the author in Basarnian when he came to visit while he's running away, told him a speech that Rav Aaron Yishai Fish, who was a student of the Kamar Narav and a great Hasidic leader, had spoken about when they began talking about the Zionist movement in Eretz Yisrael. They were talking about building Eretz Yisrael, that many people, so to speak, they opposed the movement. Literally, they threw stones at the movement. It's a figurative expression. And this Rav Aaron Ishaya Fish, who was a student of the Kamarna Rebbe, who was a great Hasidic leader in his own right, got up and said, Hanach lahem, leave them, leave the Zionists, Basher ein anu yadim ha'emes. We don't know the truth. Ech yesh tatu da gula. We don't know how the gula will develop. Because in one place in the Zohar it says the first Jerusalem will be built up and the exiles will come together. In another place in the Galut, in the Zohar, it says another place in the Zohar says it will not come with any help from us. We don't know what God really wants from us. If we see that many people want to build it, we see people want to do this, no matter who they are, even if they're the lowest of the Jewish people, he's referring to them because they're non-religious. Who should be so brazen? Who should be so arrogant to stop these people from their work? Maybe this is the will of Hashem. Who do you guys think you are, throwing stones at the Zionists, poking fun and being negative about the Zionist movement? Maybe this is the way of Hashem. Dafka to build a God, they should do these people to build it up the land. And through these ways of the ways of the Rahmanas of Hashem, who knows what it is? Who knows how God really wants to make the world things take place? And therefore leave these people, leave them alone. So just leave these guys alone. Who said this? These are his holy words. And know from who said this? Not me. A person who is an individualist in religiosity. He knew the Zohar, he knew Torah, he knew Talmud, he knew everything, wisdom. And it's exactly what I wrote. Everybody understood this guy was a real scholar. And Valom Shema, in other words, and now I've learned, and I heard as well, the same thing that was said by the Rebbe of Vishnitz. Valom Shemat mipi magina met sheshamayt mipi HaKadosh ish Elokim. And I heard from a reliable mouth, a reliable testimony, who said in the name of the Gaon Gadol Benigla V'Nister Ha'admar Mivizhnitzia, the Vishnitzer Rebbe, Marn of Rabbanan, Ksav Kacham Marn Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Yisrael Mivizhnitzer, who was living at that time in the city of Grosvardin. Shamar Shzechatzayim Kosh Levachag, he died against. Shamar Shlomatz L'Shatev L'Sar Tzionistim. He didn't want to become part. Join the group that was saying usher about the Zionists. Because according to his mind, because he thought this was a sign from heaven to build the land through them. Why? Now look at this. Because in the war against the Romans, I'll just stop for a moment, let me explain. It's the war against the Romans. There was a peace party who wanted to make peace with the Romans, and there were also a vocal group of Biryonim who were seen as ruffians and no-goodniks who actually burned down storehouses in Yerushalayim in order to ensure that there would be a fight to the death. These were people who were very violent people. They were people who wanted to push the envelope, so to speak. So these Biryonim are sometimes viewed in Chazal very negatively. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, who looks like a peace lover, who is smuggled out of the city and gets Yavne v'Chachamea, and looks like he really wants to make peace with the Romans and get around the burning of the temple and just go on living life quietly, he is viewed as a hero among Chazal. So the Biryonim who actually were violent and who actually burnt down storehouses in the siege of Yerushalayim, storehouses in Jerusalem, are viewed as negative. So the Vishnitzer Rebbe said that these ruffians, these negative people, they're the cause of the Churban Abayis. So how are we going to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash if only negative people are going to rebuild the way to build the Beis HaMikdash? So now it's Midah Keneged Midah. It sounds like a kind of backwards logic almost, like, right?
The Biryanim were Jews.
The Biryanim were Jews.
Gilgul, and they're coming back as the pioneers.
Right, they're coming back as the pioneers. So the Biryanim, who are viewed as non-rabbinic, right? They're non-traditional. They were not accepting the will of the rabbis to make peace, because there was a peace movement inside the walls of the city. But they were the ones who wanted to fight to the death for the principle. These are the people now coming back. They're like a Gilgul Neshama as the secular Zionists to die for the sake of Israel, regardless of what the rabbis are saying. Who says it's the Vishnitzer Rebbe? Like, it's an amazing kind of statement. So the Vishnitzer Rebbe, this was known, the Vishnitzer Rebbe did not join any of the anti-Zionist petitions or statements or articles. He says, I don't know, like, Al Ken Haimim the Biryonim, these ruffians destroyed it. The Al Ken, the Sikaris are sometimes called Al Ken. Okay, they're the ones who are going to rebuild it. They're going to fix what they broke. They ruined. Ad kan dai tok doshim. V'yain le'el Rabbeinu Bachai she'veinu shekot, and Rabbeinu Bachai quoted earlier says the same thing. He says, "V'yator reit boneim ech shetrei gabri rav rava ke'elu." Look, like two great leaders like this. He bitu ba'ayin choderet b'vas yedeim sheleilu abonim. They looked at the builders and saw the positive thing that's being done and what's going on now. So this is really what he's talking about. Okay, let's do a little bit of Yud 10. So now this coming, how much left do we have? Well, we're going to finish it for sure on Wednesday. Monday? Finish it for sure Wednesday, okay? We'll get up to Chaf, and we'll leave maybe Chaf for... Chaf is actually a very good part. It's too long. We'll leave up to Chaf for today. Okay, so Kat Abduliyal in 17. So what it really is going to tell us that at the end of days, things will get less, things will become more clear as we get closer to the end. Right now we're still getting close, but it's still not clarity time. Katib ben Daniel, it says in Daniel, this is the end of Daniel, V'atah Daniel, Satuma Dvorim V'chatuma Sefer at 8 gates. This is how Daniel, the last chapter says, Daniel, the matter is hidden, or hide the matter, Stoma Dvorim, hide the matter, Chatuma Sefer, close up the book, seal the book at 8 gates until the end of time, Yishotutu HaRabim, V'tir Bedat, until the end of time when knowledge will increase, and you'll be able to understand at that point. Ad kan la'ta'ta lashon hakra. Ayin b'malbum sham, Sheperish the dafka 8 kates you had vorim stumim. Until the end of time, things will be closed up. Be8 kates yusar safek. But the end of time, things will be more clear. Things will be unwrapped. The closer you get to the end of time, there'll be less safek, less doubt. Because we know that the end of time will be before the end of the 7,000th, and we are now 5,000. What are we up to? 5,778. Yes, 79. Thank you, 79. So then it's not. We're going to go up to 7,000. We go up to 6,000 because the first 1,000 is 0 to 1,000. The second is 0 to 2. Third is 7 to 3. Right. So forth. So 7,000 will be the time of Mashiach, which is that last 1,000 years. Even though I have to tell you something, we're going to see a Ramban. I'm not sure if we're going to get to the Ramban, but the Ramban sometimes talks about the fact that it's not really 7,000, it's 7 times 7. So for those of you who are holding out like Rav Teichtel is for the 7th year, 7,000, the Ramban seems to be based upon the fact that you have a Shemitah, and there are 7 Shemitahs make a Jubilee. So he seems to refer many times to the fact that the Pi Kabbalah may be 7 times 7, so that we got a whole lot longer to wait out. Okay, I'm not going to go there now. So let's work with 7,000. So at any rate, as you get closer to the end, things will be more clear as we get to, because the end is the year 7,000. That's when Mashiach comes. It came Bizman HaKodem in the earlier time. There was Avada was less clear, there was less clarity, and more Safek, which is the end of time, was more Meruba. Until we get closer to the end of the 7,000, it'll become clearer to the end, and less Safek is being closer. The knowledge will be clearer. This is what the Malbim writes. The Malbim writes in this commentary on Daniel, in which he actually tries to suggest certain times about the future when Mashiach will come. As you get closer to the end of time, the closer we get to the safek will become less and the dot will become more. The Malbim wrote himself, there's 1800s. I found this also as well in the Sefer Kisei HaMelech, on the Zohar as well, which is on the Tikkun Zohar, which is, I think the Malbim have also written it. Even though we don't know the heart of the matter, as we get close to the time of Gula, it'll be more revealed to those above and below. Even we get close, most of the world will know it. At that time will be revealed that kind of shono. And therefore the Malbim wrote it in his day, in the 1800s, as if it was his idea, but it really goes back to something on the Tikkun HaZohar, which is of course much earlier than the Malbim itself. The Malbim writes, as you get closer to the end of time, you'll actually find out much more clear what it is. And we'll save you the same chaf for next time as well, which takes a long piece from the Malbim, and you'll actually enjoy going through it, because there's a good mashal that's in it. Yes. And I hope once
does it deal with the issue of karbanot?
No, it does not deal with karbanot. It does not deal with karbanot. He deals with actually settling the land. He talks about unity in the Jewish people. The karbanot will come when he does not believe like Rav Shale should believe that we have to bring karbanot. We got to get to the land.
That's a contentious issue.
Yes, it is. Correct. But he didn't believe. He said you got to get to the land of Israel. Okay, so we will finish this chapter on Wednesday. Good.